Not talk about Marcus Smith, and the first question you ask, what about this Marcus Smith then?
The doc, our director, offers me a shot. We can't ignore the bloke. Ian Tempest is the referee. Hamish Mayles, Jonathan Healy, the assistant referees. One of 3 games this afternoon, all kicking off at 3 o'clock at the Rec. Bath against Newcastle. At Allianz Park on the other side of London. Saracens against Sale, and this one at the Stoop. And we'll keep an eye on the other 2, keep you bang up to date. But this is the focus of our attention. There's a little stubby kick-off, falls into the arms of Vianu.
A little bit short for long for Marlon Yard. He's very good on that chase. Leicester line up with 4 pods across the middle of the field to try and counteract that short kicking option.
Mike Brown positioning himself under this and positioning himself well. Maloof wasn't far away, the Australian. And here goes another Australian, James Horwell, immediately into the fray, warming his shoulders. Care. This is Charlie Walker, who's been fizzing at the start of this season, and likewise Matt Luamanu. Brown again. Dan Cole over the top to try and slow things down.
Dan, careful now, Dan.
Smith. Lambert offers himself, but Smith tries to cut a line around Mike Williams, but there was no line to be cut. Williams shut off that route. Collier up the middle, and again it's Horwell running into his opposite number Barrow, the head-to-head that Ben picked out a few minutes ago. And again it's Will Collier brought back to start. Carl Sinclair on the bench today. Smith to Roberts. Steps off his right to straighten things up and run into Tom Youngs. Picked up by Lambert. Clifford into double figures phase-wise. Collier again looking for support. The first bloke he saw was Ellis Genge, so he holds on to it. Luamanu given the ball by George Merrick. Lambert takes a step back. Instead it's Roberts, but he was just a dummy runner. And Smith into space. They had a lot of possession. Time to try and earn a little bit of territory if they can. And Vianu playing with fire, hauled down by Walker. Now Leicester have got themselves in a bit of a spot, and they've conceded the penalty.
Really good start from Harlequins, full of running rugby, and also really good balance as well between the forwards, the backs, dominating possession as well as territory. Marcus Smith, his kick to that corner there was almost perfect, and with that new law amendment, you can see that Johnny May is waiting for that ball to go over. This is the kick here. Johnny May's now waiting. So last year he'd have waited for the ball to go, put his foot over the try line, and that would have been a 22. He's forced to play it. Lovely work away from Charlie Walker, forced the penalty.
But if you look how slow Leicester's line speed was going up on Marcus Smith, if you look at the one before, Ellis Genge shot out the line, tried to make the big hit on him, but Marcus Smith stepped backwards, created a dog leg. That will make Leicester nervous, so then they don't put the line speed on. It gives him the time to put the kick into the corner.
All of the ball early on, all of the points. Marcus Smith puts John Kingston's Harlequins 3 points up.
Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Ellis Genge flying out of the line. He's just tempting him, but he steps away from Genge to buy himself time to make the pass. Next time Leicester's line speed comes up, they're worried about that. They're worried about creating a dog leg, buying himself time.
Leicester operating Quinn's half for a while. Mike Brown bringing it forward with relish. Went forward, and Leicester will have an opportunity now just to camp a little bit away to the right-hand side with a scrum.
Talking of restart, I've had 2 restarts, both of them just been a little bit too long, and Mike Brown, because he's so dominant in the air, he always gets on that front foot. You'll see it from here. You give him just 2 yards, he's so dominant in the air, catch that ball going forward, bang, accelerate, gets away from people. Joe Marchant, almost the benefactor off it. Instead, Leicester scrum.
And Leicester have won a few penalties when they've had Genge and Cole on the field, and there's their first one this afternoon.
To floor, too long. 3 too long to floor.
Working well as a combination.
Thank you.
Collier trying to get that initial shot on, really put Tom Youngs under pressure for his strike.
Which one, Tom? Which one particular?
Maybe intent saying that Will Collier was too long.
I think he's right, and I think Ellis Genge exploited that by not going in quite as hard, maybe taking a little bit off the legs and almost guiding him down to the floor. If your feet are too far back, you just haven't got the balance to. If his feet were underneath him, he could well have won that hit and chased through Ellis Genge.
Attention focused on George Ford. 2 years younger than Marcus Smith when he made his Tigers debut. He was just 16. He really was a nipper. One was playing at the age of 47. He gave it plenty of thought, and more importantly, right direction. And Leicester very quickly level. Harlequins 3, Leicester 3. George Ford's penalty.
Yeah, just see Harlequins have been kicking really short. Once again, mile and yards, wanting to get on the ball. Really good competition in the air.
Ball's available. Leave it, Quins now.
Mike Williams, who got up highest, reacted well.
Drop in.
Mike Williams, doubtless one of those who might be in Eddie Jones' little black book today. He was so close to playing for England before the broken arms. Here is Genge. Jack in the box, first start for England back in June in those Argentina tests, and he played in both of them. And that little chug brings another penalty.
It's actually, I think, as a result of the amount of attention which Ellis Genge actually requires when he carries the ball. So often when he's carrying the ball, one or two people get involved in the tackle and there's just not enough room. It gets very messy. The ruck looks messy. Mark Lambert caught on the wrong side. Simple penalty to be given.
George,
I think you're right. Usually because big ball carriers, the forwards tend to run fairly straight. They don't attract those extra people in, because even if you get a good shot on Ellis Genge and stop him, he's still moving towards someone else's channel, and the temptation's to bite in. So there you get 1, 2 guys going in. And if they can hold them in there, Leicester, it creates less bodies on their feet and more opportunities for the likes of Ford and Tamua to attack.
Well, we talked a lot about Leicester's line-out pre-match. Leicester have talked a lot about their line-out this week. Richard Blaze resigning at the start of the week, the line-out coach. They talked about simplifying it, and that was as simple as it gets, to the front, but they've won it.
Need to drop their heights a little bit. Ben Youngs needs to be aware of the touchline, make sure they don't head too far in that direction. As long as Robshaw doesn't change his bind, he's okay.
Entry 2.
There was a quizzical look on Chris Robshaw's face about that penalty, but it was actually Rob Buchanan who twisted around and came from the wrong side.
He's in one of those positions that looks like he's in an offside position. Because he's never changed his bind, he's never released his hands, he's still bound in originally where he is. He's okay, he can stay in there. But just watch that entry point there, just comes in at the side, the referee sees it, and then slides up the outside. It's called swimming up the outside of the wall.
Ellis Genge was taken out there, and Quins are coughing up penalties at the moment. And they will be keeping a beady eye on Ben Youngs, because he was very sharp at this stage of the game last weekend against Gloucester.
So a lovely try for penalty advantage yesterday. As soon as the arm went out, George Ford signalled to Maloof, wanted to make the most of it, but that penalty count so early into the game, 9 minutes. It's amazing how what was a point of weakness last week within a couple of minutes has now seemingly become a bit of a strength.
George Ford just checking whether he had to kick the ball into touch, because it was a line-out penalty. He doesn't. And Leicester shunning the 3 points on offer and wanting to really turn the screw here, with Harlequins having given away a penalty. Puts pressure on them defensively, maybe can't defend quite as hard.
Again they go to the front, and again it's Mike Williams picked out, and Leicester peeling around that shorter side. All three lineouts to the front so far, and this is Williams again, 5 metres away. Mahoney took it on. This is Ford beginning to open up a little bit. Veanu, he's got Malouf to his right-hand side. Veanu tries to do the job all on his own, but held up
Time off.
just short, but we're going to check.
Time off. Do we need to check this?
Well, the ball now is on the line.
Thanks. Try there.
Oh, it's been given. We don't need to go to the TMO. The officials conferring, and Talusa Veanu has his first try of the season, and Leicester, having been behind early on, are ahead.
Yeah, it's the use of Johnny May. Matt Smith's the decoy line. Just quick hands and then drifting on the pass as he did last week for Malouf's try. It's Veanu. He can't release the winger this time, but just the momentum and the pace he's running at takes him close to the line. And then has he got the momentum to squeeze over? Yes, he does.
Good call, John.
Just a little slide and then a placement of the ball, which is allowed to do, and Jonathan Healy, the touch judge on this near side, eagle-eyed, saw that, and we didn't need to waste time with any video replays. New Tongan international Afa Pakalani has arrived this week, and Leicester really happy to invest in Tongan players at the moment, but it's Veanu who's got the score.
Ford didn't have his strongest game off the tee. It's to the right as well.
Doesn't mean it's gone. His try means that Leicester lead by 8 points to 3.
Very much starts just a few minutes ago talking about Harlequins, but 2-3 penalties on the bounce. Decent bit of traffic.
Robshaw was chasing hard, but it gave Johnny May just a little bit too much time to evade the oncoming traffic. This is Williams, being busy in the line-out, busy ball in hand.
Just going back to that try, it shows the benefit. If you peel around the front or get a shift drive around the front, obviously the best place then to attack. You've narrowed up the defence, so as quickly as possible you want to get into that outside channel, as long as you've tied in some bodies early on in the phases.
Ball's available, 15 has pushed the ball into him.
Horwell. Tackled by Dominic Ryan, Irishman who swapped Leinster for Leicester. And back after injury to start today. Mark Lambert, one club man, turns 32 this season. Smith castled in midfield by Barrow. Barrow and Co, and the white shirts flooding through. But allowed to use the hands on the floor, so Brown can pick it up and Quins can come away.
Done so well to recycle that. Quins under massive pressure, and they get the penalty. Ben Youngs gets up and causes a bit of a nuisance of himself as he goes back into an onside position. Really, really good play. Marcus Smith just caught. Danny Kerr gets him out of problems, and then the support play comes in to secure the ball. Mike Brown makes that little breakaway. Could have been a lot worse that for Harlequins. Now they're in prime attacking position. There's Cole. He's entitled to tackle Danny Kerr. He's lifted the ball and play the scrum off, gets back to his feet, but Brown does so well to buy extra metres, and Ben Youngs just taking an age to try and move.
Harlequins first line out for Rob Buchanan, back as a starter ahead of Dave Ward, who's on the bench.
Luamanu just hovering off here, ready to be a ball carrier, but they can't win the ball cleanly.
Outside arm.
Let's have another look at the try, Hugo. What have you got?
Yeah, it's just really simple things, actually. Just a lovely line automatically from Matt Smith, which just takes in the attention of Smith. Johnny May, but watch the work before Viana gets the ball. He's already on the outside arc. He already gets outside Charlie Walker. That puts doubt into Mike Brown's mind, and that's why his momentum able to get him over that trial. And it's just really intelligent. Same try that Manu scored last week almost.
Bind. Set.
Well, we got some updates from the other two 3 o'clock kickoffs. And
Yeah, we'll move over.
Rob Vickers and Tani Takalua with a couple of early tries for Newcastle at the Rec. They've had a long flight back from the States at the beginning of the week, but a dozen points to the good. And Liam Williams has scored his try for Saracens on his home debut. Ben Spencer starting again ahead of Richard Wigglesworth at scrum half. Sarri's already 14 points to the good against Sale.
It's a huge start from Newcastle, my word.
Mahoney under massive pressure at the base, managed to keep hold of it. Ben Youngs has to go in to make the clearance, but the ball bubbles free.
As a result of a dominant scrum, Roberts to Smith. Brown's offering himself. Here he is, gets the ball from Marchant. Here's Yard. Horwell again, happy to dig trenches up the middle of the pitch. Smith, type will rather skip over them. This is Walker. Oh, brilliantly done to Clifford. How about that? That was a sleight of hand from Charlie Walker. Smith once more. Quinn starting to draw some neat, attractive patterns with the ball in hand. Smith, the drawer in chief. This is Luamanu. Line T draws tends to be more straighter, but no less effective. Smith, Marchant, Walker again, and held on to by Matt Tamua.
Right, no, off it!
Brown. Double miss pass, picking out Rob Shaw. This is George Merrick. Again, it's Horwell. Rather like the start of this match. Quinn's earning a penalty as a result of a pile of possession, and that's what they'll come back for.
That's brilliant play from Quins, because Leicester's defence was pretty solid. No missed tackles, but just the quality of the carrying, the timing of the passing. Marcus Smith orchestrating well. And they just forced Leicester into panicking a bit. Ellis Genge thinks he needs to slow it down, puts his hands on it.
You just see Charlie Walker here. I mentioned about Viana. Look at that footwork just to skip outside Tamura, and then the deft touch to get the ball outside. You're right, Ben. Leicester have defended really well, and all you need to do is keep hold of the ball, back yourself. Mike Williams, good attempt to jackal. Ellis Genge, you're the second man in. That's definite no-no. Simple penalty.
Been some week for the 18-year-old, man of the match against Wasps. England called up yesterday. Leicester, meantime, have taken Dom Ryan off. And the second penalty for young Marcus Smith. Quins 6, Tigers 8. Dominic Ryan, by the way, it's a head injury assessment, so Luke Hamilton may be with us for just the 10 minutes. At the mandatory 10 minutes now, I'm sure you're all cottoning on to this, but even if the player's ready to come back within 10 minutes, they have to stay off for the full 10 to make sure that the doctors don't feel in any need to rush the examination. Clifford, Smith, Brown. Roberts was an option, but Brown went for the boot instead, and that's going to put George Ford under a little bit of pressure. Actually might not. It's got a little bit too much on it. But again, little tinkering of the regulations this season means that Ford couldn't stretch his right foot over the dead ball line, and Leicester have to settle for the dropout 22.
And I like the rule, because it's almost a pin-perfect kick bar 1 yard, so he should be rewarded for that. Let's get players to push their boundaries, whether it be from the hand or from the boot, and unfortunately for George Ford, what would have been a 70-yard gain is now 22.
Yard, positioned himself, but there was a bigger bloke in front of him, George Merritt, who gives it to the slightly smaller guy. And here's another big guy, Matt Luamanu. He did well to stay on his feet for an extra couple of seconds, an extra couple of metres. Rob Shaw taking on Hamilton and Tanua, who does his fair share of work defensively, as you'd expect as the inside centre, but he throws himself around, Matt Tanua.
Oh man, slow enough. Get up, Jack! Backwards off wide for me.
Vianu. Still going. And still going. Toulousa Vianu. Leicester's crackerjack. What a run from Vianu. And this is May. And Malouf on the bounce. The pass from May was a long way from what was needed. And after the brilliance of Vianu to set it up, not the pass to match.
Well, we haven't seen that much of this in the last season. That ability to break from absolutely anywhere and just pick off defenders at will.
Pardon? Sorry?
Just slightly overrun by his nearest support player. He does the right thing and chooses to give behind. It's Ford who just overruns him slightly, does the right decision, but Johnny May's delivery here, just not good enough.
It's funny, rugby, how you can do the really difficult things and make them look so simple, that when it comes down to do the very basic of things, you end up throwing the ball on the floor. That is absolute brilliance. Ended up being butchered, unfortunately, by Johnny May.
Premiership best 335 metres over the first 3 weekends. He's certainly added to that.
Certainly did
over the last minute or so, and the feet as well, Hugo. Just the quickness of feet to get beyond the defence.
He's prying on those bigger lads. He's just drifting across the pitch, looking for a one-on-one with one of the bigger lads. And the moment he did that, his acceleration, the footwork, and you see exactly what I mean. A lot of people, coaches say, just run forward, run forward. When you've got footwork like what he has, you see him. He's got his eyes up. Where's that big lad who I can just make look stupid? There it is, Mark Lambert, in and out. And Mike Brown's one of the best defenders in the game.
When you are that bigger lad, you haven't got as good footwork. As he's drifting across, people are thinking, I need to dive out of the line to hit him, to try and stop him. And as soon as the first player does that, he just skips around them, and he's created his own dogleg to exploit.
Just wait with HIA for number 11.
Harlequins are having a head injury assessment as well for Charlie Walker. Alofa on to fill that gap.
Time on.
There's Alofa, he's fit to go again after a knee injury in pre-season.
Crouch!
Now, what a story developing at the Rec. DTH van der Merwe on his debut for the Falcons has their third try. And they lead 19-0 midway through the first half.
One, just a hinge. He's followed you. You've hinged. He's gone after you.
Let's get hinging. Right in front of the referee.
When you're going before the ball.
Hugo's got his arms out, he's expecting this. It was about 10 metres away, not far.
It's a bit longer the gap here than Worcester. I was sort of hoping he might topple over the edge into the crowd.
Maul. It's over.
We're going to have a word with Nick Evans in a moment or two. The last time we did one of these live chats with Nick during a match, Quinn scored a try, so he'll be hoping for something similar in the next few minutes or so. We will see. Just to see where this latest passage of play takes us.
Behind the back foot.
Quinn's having to work from inside their own 10-metre line. Not now. Kerr hoists it. And Alofa leading the chase, and he got his hands to it. And it's been given away to Smith, and he's hunted down and hauled into touch by Vianu.
Oh, brilliant read from Smith. He saw that He knew exactly what Ben Youngs was going to do, and he just gambled on it. And he's entitled to gamble because there's nothing else apart from go in touch that Youngs can do. Just watch Smith behind, accelerates. Knew Vejanu is there. Really sharp play.
One gamble's great for Marcus Smith. Why Ben Youngs is gambling with his back towards all the defenders, throwing the ball blind. That's not what you need. He knows that.
Let's just get this scrum away, then we'll have a chat with Nick Evans.
Start using!
Oh, they're under pressure again, and it's like a swarm. Callum Foley under enormous pressure.
Try to create a better angle, but they get hit on the line. They lose a bit of room. There's no real dead ball area, so Youngs kicks.
And he got that away just over the head of Chris Robshaw. Let's quickly check in with Nick Evans. Overall impressions of the first quarter, Nick.
Yeah, not a bad start, guys. We nearly did it again there. Another try with me waiting in the wings. But no, look, we just got to make sure we play in the right areas of the field, which we are doing. But we've got to kick accurately. Vianu's got some dirty feet out there, as you've seen just previously. So we've got to be disciplined and just make sure that we convert down here in these sorts of parts of the field.
Do you talk specifically about somebody like Talusa Vejanu in Guildford during the week?
Yeah, we did. Do not kick to him and give him a bit of space. Simple as that, because you can see what he can do. So we've got to make sure that we either kick to contest or make sure we find turf and get a really good wall chase, as we call it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nick.
No worries.
And just to clarify, by dirty, I think he means really good feet.
Alofa, Marchant. By the way, that Dominic Ryan is off permanently. He has failed his head injury assessment, and that's been dropped by Matt Luamanu.
That's come off Dan Cole's head.
Advantage over. Yard tries to make the most of it, going the long way round, eventually scragged by Harry Wells, but ambition, determination from the try scorer at the Rico last week, and then something a little bit more straightforward from Dan Cole on Marcus Smith.
It's a tactic of Leicester's. Get to him. He wants to. Oh, that could be a yellow. Oh, Cole just sticks his hand out, gets away with it.
His forward's being lazy. That's all it is. I don't think it is a yellow card, to be honest. It's nothing. It's silly. But why put that doubt, or why make the referee make that kind of decision, which definitely going to cost you 3, could cost you more.
It's a reaction because he's seen it start to be thrown and think, well, I might be able to get to this, but I've seen yellows given for that, absolutely. Yeah. I think he's a little bit fortunate there. But Marcus Smith is having a bit of a torrid day, but he's welcoming it. He wants them to fly out of the line and hit him because he's timing his passes to perfection. He hasn't been fazed by it at all. It's obviously a Leicester tactic. They know that he likes to play flat to the line, so they're going to try and rough him up.
Always committed.
But he is not being affected mentally at all.
I think a good 10 in attack probably should have a few sore ribs at the end of the game, because he's sacrificing himself every time he goes to the line, knowing someone's jumping out.
Marcus Smith has been in the eye of the storm and the sole contributor of Harlequins points thus far, but it's enough to give them the lead again. 26 minutes gone. Quins 9, Leicester 8.
That's good tackle, it's fine. It's fine. Good tackle,
Forward again, we'll drop this just on the 22, and it put some doubt into the mind of Marlon Yard, who's furious with his effort.
In fact, the last 2 restarts, there's been a bit of confusion between him and George Merritt.
I think they need a little bit more. Yard needs to up the talk, because he almost gets blindsided. He tries to go around Merritt. He just needs to tell the big man, get out of the way, it's mine. And that confidence will give him self-confidence going up for the ball.
As fast Eddie. He's almost in a university gown, isn't he? He's getting ready to go to Oxford properly.
I think it's a gilet, Nick.
Is it? It's one of those for about 20 years.
Time off. Time off.
Good discipline, boys.
Look, we need to keep our feet close to us and the elbow up. We can't have a step out and then drop the scrum, okay? You both need to work harder, otherwise you'll both be leaving the field of play. We'll now improve our scrummaging. Time back on.
Genge and Collier,
Yeah, let's move it over to
the
touch.
subject of the lecture.
You both need to do better and really not messing, guys.
If we are able to get a decent platform, then Leicester, they have looked very good in attack. That's George Ford and Toulouse Viana at the back of the scrum. We know Ford's got the ability to go to the line, use his hands, and Viana's footwork could be deadly.
Leicester's back line full of evil attacking intent, marshalled by Youngs, and this is Viana, who did well at the second attempt to hold on to that cherry, and he's still going. This is Malouf. He's off as a threat, carrying the ball, Nick Malouf. He's clearly an arch finisher, as is this man, Vianu, slipping under. That was a high tackle.
Yeah, it's high, is it? The referee saying penalty only. Obviously felt there was enough cover around him that Vianu wouldn't have gone over the line. Cole and Barrow squaring it. Cole.
Hands down away.
Barrow and Brown squaring up.
Doesn't look like fatherhood has calmed him down that much, but it's early days.
It's lack of sleep.
Just what he needed, lack of sleep, isn't it?
Jax hasn't been around for long, but you know, bit by bit, you'd imagine that it might, but not just yet. Congratulations, by the way, to Mike and to Eliza on the arrival of Jax. It's Hall with the high tackle. Viana's looking a right old handful at the moment.
Warning still stands.
He's been up since 3:30. Come on. Big call for Leicester now. We see, don't we, that you'd think, well, we'll just take the scrum again. We see referees getting a bit edgy and then trying to find a reason to get away from it. Sometimes that penalty can go against you on the second one, but certainly Leicester will want to tie in the numbers in and around the scrum. They'll try and test them with the shunt, but then you see that little triangle around George Ford, Nick Malouf on his inside, Maximura on his outside, just plotting what to do off the back of this.
Cole zeroing in on Mark Lambert to try and provide some stability. Another Leicester penalty.
Collapse. Collapse.
Will Collier under pressure.
The ball wasn't available to play. Collapse. Scrum again? Yeah, but we've got to move. Scrum.
I'm hearing, by the way, that Charlie Walker's head injury assessment has been failed as well, so both sides have lost players early on to bumps to the head. A Lofa now on for the duration. He's going to try in the defeat to Leicester here last season, and he's got 50 minutes to try and get one here today.
Hold your weight.
Now you go scrum again because you're really ramping up the pressure on the referee, saying, come on, ref.
Not holding weight.
Yeah, it's not.
3 penalties or 3 offences they've made
That was not an
on one
individual
scrum.
penalty, it was a team penalty, not holding weight.
They've got to change the picture, or the ref's going to change the players. If the ball was to come out, there's so many threats there. Ben's already alluded to it, but it's quite obvious that Leicester want more than just anything. They want a yellow card. Oh, wow.
Well, that's exactly the danger I was talking about when they first decided to shun the free kick and go for a scrum again. Just that psychological swing. You can hear the crowd, the cheer. the Harlequins players having felt under massive pressure, that quick swing in expectation as they clear their lines. Yeah, you can see, I think he's right, the referee, although it's Collier who lands on his front. Again, short bind, pulls it back towards himself.
Apologies for the language.
Over 15.
Taken by Clifford at the tail of that line out. Smith to Luamanu, blasting into Ford, but not beyond him. Ford standing his ground.
Yeah, very good tackle. Obviously trying to target him in the same fashion Leicester are Smith, but stood up to the challenge.
Luamanu once more, but not for long this time. Clifford, does well to go on the carousel to find Jamie Roberts, and then Smith to Buchanan.
Nick, I've been so impressed with Jack Clifford today. As that link player, we always think of a sevens role just being good over the ball, but as a link player, he's been absolutely superb. Often stepping into first receiver, or even found wider out as that man to drag in a couple of extra white shirts and then release a perfect offload, and that really should have been a better result for the Quins.
24-year-old, last of his 10 England caps across the road against Italy in the Six Nations in February.
Big high bind.
The match that did no England player a favour. There's Charlie Walker. He'll be disappointed to miss out the bulk of this one. One Leicester let go. He was an academy player at Welford Road. He won't be adding to the 3 tries he scored on the opening 3 weekends of the season.
The referee's right to reset this one. If you look under Dan Cole's feet, you can see where the pitch disappeared underneath him.
Let's go.
Nothing he could have done about that.
That's over.
Missed any of the Aviva Premiership matches so far. We've got highlights tonight at 9 o'clock. And then tomorrow off to Sandy Park for a repeat of the match that we enjoyed across the road back in May. Champions against the runners-up, 2:30, BT Sport 1, 4K UHD, and then rugby tonight on tour. It's got a little London Irish tinge to it on Wednesday. Hugo and Sarah are going to Tadley, which is where?
It's in Berkshire. Did I say that right? How would you say it?
No, Tadley's great. No, Berkshire's great as well. You didn't know where it was yesterday. We were just making sure you're heading to the right place.
I wonder what their initiation will be.
I've heard.
Not good?
Well, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say.
Meantime, it's a good old tussle at the scrum. 9 scrums have so far provided 6 penalties and a free kick as they wrestle for control. On this occasion, Ellis Genge gets the little winner's medal.
You don't want it to become about that, do you? You don't want it to become that battle of who's winning the most penalties. And that's part of the referee's responsibility to try and sort this out. And you can see there that angle that Collier ends up at. He's absolutely right towards the penalty. It has become a scrum battle to see who can win a penalty. Great steal from Rob Shaw, really good shape in the air.
Leicester first line-out loss of the afternoon, and Roberts gives that the hammer, but straight into the arms of Vianu. Maloof. And he's cut through a gap. Looks very sharp. Adam Thompson, by the way, last season's top try scorer, not fit yet to start his season, but in Nick Maloof, the sevens player, they look like they've got themselves a little bit of a gem, and here goes Youngs doing what he does, and Ford's up in support. Ford chases the kick. Ford with Smith, but it's Smith who gets there and does well to get back to his feet and reset the ball. But Quins and Kerr in a perilous situation. This is Clifford.
I think George Ford needs to have a little word with Marcus Smith. All that coaching he did, he's showing up here with his pace.
But once again, off the kick, Leicester are looking so dangerous. Once it's been Vianu, another time it's been Maloof.
Brown and one of the other Leicester second rows having a little bit of a tete-a-tete now.
You can hear Danny Kerr shouting, watch the line. Watch the line. They know Ben Youngs is such a threat, but it's not just Ben Youngs. Whether it be with ball in hand, their kicking game, they've got to find turf, they've got to start turning people, because they're getting cut apart.
Was actually really good decision making that by George Ford. He eased off on the accelerator, let Marcus Smith win that, and thought I'm not going to win the battle to the line, so don't give away a penalty, and we'll get the ball back with a line out.
15.
Picked up by Genge.
Advantage, tackle move.
That's the penalty.
2 not moving.
Phony.
2 move.
What's he going against Rob Buchanan? Updates from the other matches, by the way. The 2 other 3 o'clock kickoffs. And Matt Banahan has scored his 53rd Premiership try. Newcastle got the first 3, however, including one for DTH van der Merwe. And a Faf de Klerk penalty has opened Sale's account in North London, but the headline there so far made by Liam Williams with try for his club on his home debut. Lions fullback.
Quins would just be concerned at the amount of penalties that they're given, but not just the penalties, but exactly where they've been conceded. So there's 8 penalties so far this half. This is for Rob Buchanan, the latest one for not rolling away. Almost Jack Clifford taps him in there by challenging for the ball, but 6 penalties in their own half. And because Leicester's line is actually seemingly working so well, and George Ford off the tee, they're just gifting opportunities for Leicester to get points on the board.
Matt O'Connor, not even bothering to watch this, he's heading back to the shed to compose his half-time lecture. Two minutes to the break, and Leicester regain the lead. Neither side can hold an advantage for any significant period of time at the moment. Harlequins 9, Leicester 11.
It's been a cracking game, hasn't it? Highs and lows for both sides. A little bit of inaccuracy in some of the final passes, but absolutely brilliant game.
Aloof under pressure from his compatriot Horwell, but he's still going. Ford. Here's Tamua, and this is Vianu. Still going.
Released, he's come back.
Ford. Calamafoni hit hard by Merrick. This is Matt Smith. Quins defence up quickly. Nick Easter drilled defence. Quick line speed there, cutting out oxygen.
That was exactly it. George Ford trying to get that run around and take away the option, be the aggressor. Much better defensive set.
Use it!
Not the accuracy that Ben Youngs would have been hoping for.
Well, you can hear Chris Robshaw, the back of it, is just yelling, just putting pressure verbally onto Ben Youngs. That ball is out, and then you see his commitment just to try and get to Ben Youngs' foot. All of that pressure, whether it's line speed in and around the ruck, just hassling, not making people feel comfortable, results in this Harlequins line-out.
Horwell calling it to himself. But it wasn't straight, that's the second time.
That's one of those line-outs where if you don't get your competition up, you maybe get away with that. But because Don Barrow has to jump all the way across the line, it paints the picture to the ref. You can see it's not straight, it's down Harlequins' line, but sometimes when there's no competition at the back, the referee will just say, well, play on, no one was up there.
John Kingston, who used to be a forward, you'd never know, though, would you? Will know that they have lost 2 of their 5 lineouts. Start of his second season in charge.
Bring it, stand up,
Taken over from Conor O'Shea.
Big of a gap, okay? Bring it closer.
Right, into the red zone. After the end of a half that's been full of colour.
Crouch!
Plenty of endeavour. Just the one try, scored by Toulouse Veanu, who has been one of the star turns. Solid Leicester scrum. They can conclude business for the first 40 if they want to, but Calamafoni keen on any other business. Calamafoni, his ambition not necessarily matched by Ben Youngs, but that'll do from a a Leicester perspective, having to work hard in defence but providing the sharpest moment in attack. Toulousa Veanu with the try, George Ford with his kicks, matched by Marcus Smith, but it's the Tigers ahead at the break. Harlequins 9, Leicester 11. And neither coaches have made any more changes at half-time. There's a couple of head injuries to Charlie Walker and Dominic Ryan, meaning that Alofa and Luke Hamilton are with us at the start of this second half. Reminder that Harlequins were 2 points down last Sunday against Wasps. And they're 2 points down against Leicester here, largely due to Toulousa Veanu's try. And this is Brown. Marchant. No room for him in the England squad. Toe injury meant that he missed the Argentinian tour, and certainly not in that bunch that will head to Oxford shortly. May well see him back in the autumn international squad when it becomes a little bit more formal, maybe. We will see. Clifford as well, certainly in that first 40 minutes, doing what he could to attract Eddie Jones' eyes.
He must move.
It's not Don Barrow who's penalised. Harry Wells who makes the initial tackle, not rolling away, preventing support players getting in while Don Barrow got in on the ball. All started that though, great start from Harlequins, but from the quality of Marlon Yard's return, he didn't make any breaks, but he ran hard, he got on the front foot, and as a result, Leicester lost all their line speed. That meant that Marcus Smith could go wide off first phase, and Mike Brown makes the break.
A really strong start to the season, Marlon Yard. 3 tries. Caught the eye against Wasps last weekend. Smith, Marchant, Brown. Yard was an option, but Brown trucks it up. Danny Kerr puts his shoulders to the wheel. Smith, and again Clifford. Tried to run around Ford, and he was stopped in his tracks by Tamua. Ford then tried to pick his pocket, but it's still Lambert and Harlequins. Collier doing what he can to get on the shoulder of the fly half. Instead it was Marchant and Roberts, and this is Clifford, but oh goodness me, if that was forward, it was forward by millimetres.
You could just see the direction which Jamie Roberts' hands go. They do so well to get the ball out. And it is forward, isn't it? Momentum or not. The approach play, the hard work was done to get to the outside area, wasn't it?
You saw there George Ford wanting to bite in, because he knows that if he gives Jamie Roberts a run-up, Jamie Roberts is going to carry him for a number of yards. So he has to commit physically and accelerate towards him. But taken out by that pass, and as soon as he's taken out by the pass, it creates the 2-on-1 on the outside. Fortunately for him, Roberts throws it forward.
Harlequins have 1 or 2 things to think about in the scrum in the first half.
Okay,
Pressure
very clear now,
Will
guys.
Collier
We're back
and
on the
Rob
warning from the
Buchanan
first
and Mark
half. You need to give me a better shape, and you need to get your feet closer, or we're just going to collapse, okay? Guys, no, you must not hinge for me. You need your feet closer. No. Okay. If you think that will help, Tom, yeah, I can't have you pre-engaged. Okay, thank you. You can keep your shape.
Carl Sinclair remains an option for Quins on the bench, and Lewis Boyce, youngster, 21-year-old, set for what would be his Premiership debut, but not an awful lot of experience there. The loose head replacement, there's the tight head replacement, swallowing the disappointment of being dropped from that England training squad. And that's a better scrum from Harlequins. Leicester splintering, and Luamanu finds Rob Shaw, and it's Kerr, and this is Alofa steps back inside, still stepping back inside, still the threat.
Alan Yard free on the right. Oh dear, that's a yellow.
It's a definite yellow.
He's not giving it.
Oh, but Kerr takes it quickly, and Kerr scores.
It's a great try. Ben Young scored the same try against Gloucester last week, but do you know what? Maybe the speed of the try, this is where it starts. So Matt Leomana stepping up in the tackle, and then Alofa just putting on the afterburners, footwork as well as power, getting them far over the gain line. And I'm sorry, but Ian Tempest has got this so wrong. Danny Kerr with a quick tap, And I don't know what you think about this, Ben, but because the try was scored so quickly after the infringement, his arm was taken away in tempest.
I didn't think he was even looking at giving a yellow, though. It wasn't as though he was, you know, starting to consider it. He almost said, yeah, play on. But I totally agree. Should have been a yellow.
Might have had 2 for knock-ons, because Dan Cole in the first half as well, but both Leicester's props stay on the pitch, but they can't stop Harlequins taking the lead.
Genge can't do a lot about it, but he cannot catch the ball. And I know it's coming towards him. He can completely avoid it, sidestep it. Cast iron yellow for me.
Ford again, dropping it down on the 22. Again, it's Yard. He's the first receiver. Shoved back by Johnny May.
He's taking him back in.
An awful lot of Johnny May as an attacking threat. Mostly come through Vianu and Malouf on the right wing.
Use it!
Kerr, Yard leads the chase. Vianu's underneath it. Gets it back to May. Kerr, rather youngs to Ford. And this is Hamilton, who came on in the first half as the head injury replacement for Dominic Ryan. Tamua, Malouf. Still Malouf's just. Neatly away by Harry Wells. Under a little bit of pressure, and then Wells
knocked out, is he?
Doing the clearing work. Yep, Rob Shaw's flat on his back at the moment. Lost by Vianu. Smith quickly to Yard. He's got Matt Luamanu, and if he can escape the clutches, he might score here. Callum Afoni doing what he can. Luamanu, all the power and the determination, and Quins have 2 in a couple of minutes.
And a brilliant finish from Luamanu. Didn't have the natural pace to take him away from anyone, but he was just so composed and measured. He watched Callum Afoni came and he rode the challenge. Leicester have been trying to go wide. The highs come up from Vianu. May does well to get back and catch Yard, but just watch this. Sees him coming, puts the fend out and just rides that challenge over the line. Really good finish.
But the most pleased coach out of all of this will be Nick Easter, because it was a try created from pressure in defence. Really good line speed. Vianu had been such a threat. They got up and Manu Yard does so well. Manu the pace and the power to finish in that corner.
I know that John Kingston was really excited about Ronaldo Bothma, the Namibian, arriving at the club this season, but he's broken his arm on a couple of occasions before he can make his debut. So Luamanu having an extended shift at number 8, and my goodness, he's playing well. He's carrying the form from last season into the start of this one. Meantime, there's still some concern for poor old Chris Robshaw, who's down on the 10-metre line.
And testing his arm strength, so whether it is a head knock or whether it's something to do with his neck or shoulders.
While we're doing England injury updates, by the way, we were hearing from Martin that Billy Vunipola left the pitch before half-time at Allianz Park, and it's a leg injury we are hearing. We don't know how serious his was, but Chris Robshaw seems to be saying that he's okay, but he clearly needs to come on for at least a check. Maybe be surprised if we see him again in this match.
It doesn't look to be the case, but they brought on Ben Glynn, who is conventionally a second row, so what that will do is bolster their line-out attack. But what you lose from Chris Robshaw is just such good work rate. 20-plus tackler every single week, a big leader. Another big shift for him today.
2 quick-fire Harlequins tries changed the complexion of this contest. Leicester having to come back from distance now. 2 minutes between the 2 tries, and Joe Marchant leading the search for a third. Brown, Smith, Roberts. Skipped beyond what would have been a challenge from Mike Williams, but never laid a hand on him. Buchanan. Harlequins at the moment getting beyond the gain line, breaking tackles, making ground.
Quins are going from coast to coast, and what that's doing is stretching the pitch, and it's making those one-on-one collisions. You see how far they've got over the gain line. Couple of slow rucks. Mike Brown will use the boot. Really good exit.
George Ford. To Veanu. Reaches the end of its journey in the in-goal area.
22.
Just saying of Quins, trying to make the pitch as big as possible.
Well, there's Squirty Joe.
Smuggling up now to Lewis, boys.
He's actually not playing today, not because of H2O misdemeanors, but because he's got sore ribs. I don't know whether the sore ribs came from the...
He's made a water ball.
Well, after Watergate.
Running on with all the balls.
Old Squirty of Squirtshire, as he probably won't become known. We'll get an update from the Rec fairly shortly. We're hearing that Bath are on the comeback trail, but confirm what's happening at Allianz Park and the Rec shortly. Tamua, Veanu, Genge. Went beyond Roberts and he wasn't held, and just look at the ground that Genge has made.
It has been seen there. You see how on that last phase Leicester trying to get round the outside.
Time off. 10 down.
All the time of Harlequins. Harlequins trying to provide that really strong line speed in midfield and catch Leicester. Tamua hovering in the back, in behind that first line of ball carriers, ready to try and get the ball out to the likes of Ellis Genge's powerful carrying, but he's got to hold on to the ball a little bit better.
In the middle of all that, Marcus Smith hurt himself. Let's update the other scores, and that Samisa Rockadanguni has scored his 4th try of the season, and Newcastle, who were comfortably ahead, having scored the first 3. Now Leicester just a point in it. 3 o'clock kickoffs, all of these, and Saracens still leading in North London. Liam Williams try, I guess, at the moment making the headline from that match. Also Billy Vunipola's leg injury as well. We're not sure how serious that is, but it's a concern. And
they're making the change for Marcus Smith. That's a huge blow for Quins, because he's really been pulling the strings.
This is the injury. He looks potentially muscular, pulls up straight away, and you won't want to take a risk, especially if Katrakillis have an extended layoff.
Yeah, Dimitri Katrakillis, just to remind you, recovering from breaking a tiny bone in his throat. I've never heard of an injury like it against Gloucester. He actually stopped breathing for a second or two. So we won't see Katrakillis for at least a month or so. And Ellis Genge is...
Both of them.
Yellow carded, and also Will Collier. And Ian Tempest's patience has run out.
That is brilliant.
But you know what? I really like this referee. We spend so long talking about the quality on the pitch, the amount of star international backs. But if they're never going to get the ball in their hands, we're not going to see a good game.
Replacements, we've got to do better. And what you're doing, stay up, subs.
The replacements are
That's fine, we'll wait.
Carl Sinclair and Greg Bateman. And
need to see improvement, please, guys.
Mike Williams is being sacrificed from a Leicester perspective. Who have Quins?
Ben Glynn.
There you go.
He just came on.
Set!
Half an hour to go. Quins with 2 tries in 2 minutes at the start of this second half with the lead.
Carl Sinclair would be immediate impact you'd expect. Such a power scrummager, and when he's fresh, he's not been distracted by running around. Needs to keep a little bit of a lid on those emotions. Pretty sure he'll be pretty emotional this week after that man there left him out of the squad.
Really interesting times for Carl Sinclair, these, and both of you will understand this, but dealing with not just the physical pressures, new physical pressures, but the mental pressures now that come with having not just played for England, but having played for the Lions. He's in a different stratosphere this season.
Absolutely, the spotlight's on him. Brilliant scrum, we know what he's about. He's a powerful guy, he's combustible, but when he's positive and he directs it in the right manner, you wouldn't want any other tight end in the team.
Merrick snaffling the ball, both packs shorn of props. Tom Young's told to back off. Here's Tim Sweal, first time he's been involved this season, and George Ford wasn't far away. Now Veanu has got a little bit of grass in front of him. If he could get beyond that first line of defence, which he couldn't quite.
Sinclair was a mile off there, but he gets his man. Referee thinks it's okay, thinks he's on his bike as the ball was lifted.
Ford. Johnny May's on his bike. Oh, and Yard was aware of it, and he got lucky. Gathered in the bounce.
There's an added intensity to the kick chase at the moment, isn't there? Both sides don't want any loose ball.
Just watch that.
Sweal. He's almost tiptoed his way through. Danny Kerr was up in support, you heard him. Here's a Loffer.
Come on. Release.
Sweal again. Flatten asking too much of Sinclair.
Advantage.
Ben Young's coaxing tired legs to drive him up towards halfway, and he's done brilliantly. And he's got Malouf in support. Veanu. Just a sense that there's that much more space on the pitch all of a sudden with two hefty props missing.
There's a bit of space around this side now if Leicester can be quick. A lot of Harlequins players waiting on that blind side.
Tamua, it's opening up, and May will have it. They'll have a charge for the line. It's a sprint, Olympic 100 metres, and there was only ever going to be one winner. May against Yard, emphatically the gold medalist, Johnny May, and he scores again for Leicester.
Oh, Danny Kerr there makes the error, really gambles, flies out of the line, and you cannot do that with Matt Tamua. He's such a good reader and late passer of the ball. He spots him coming, lets him go and throws it behind his back. Good break from Ben Youngs. Lovely little dummy, little bit loose on the offload there, but they recover well. Veanu in support, and then they spread the ball back the other way. And Harlequins slow to wrap round. Look at all those bodies on the far side. And there's Danny Kerr going. May accelerates, and Yard just on that little step just decides he's not going to get there.
It's on me, George, thanks.
Johnny May now has 4 Leicester tries. 2 on his debut against Bath, and he's got another one here at the Stoop. Leicester have made a change, by the way. The skipper Tom Youngs has given way to Harry Thacker. Extra 2 points off the boot of George Ford, and we're back to within 3.
Some of that replacement there of Harry Thacker coming on, a little bit more attacking player, will carry well, and maybe they'd be looking to bring him on at 60 minutes, but with the extra body off the field, there's maybe a little bit more space for him to work his magic, so bring him on earlier and give him that opportunity.
About the deals that both Leicester and Gloucester did. Ed Slate has settled in really well at Kingston. We watched him last night, Hugo, and likewise Johnny May at Welford Road. It's worked out well for both.
Absolutely, and that's the first run-in Johnny May's had out of the 4 tries he scored. Tell you what, made by Tamura, so much time on the ball, talking about the playmaker balance, holds on to it, waits for someone to bite, lovely pass. Such a top player, Matt Tamura, gives you so much, defensively very physical, but ball player-wise, outstanding.
A couple of years now since he was playing across the road in the World Cup final for Australia. Came off the bench that evening against the All Blacks. Another Australian, Horwell, lays it down to Kerr and Sweal and Yard. Lost that. Well, it was emphatically Harlequins' first 10 minutes at the start of this second half, but since a little sea change here, since the yellows, Leicester have looked a little bit more likely.
Yeah, just a bit of confusion with this play here. We can see they're trying to get Marlon Yard into it, and Matt Leamanu maybe didn't quite get the call, but it's those little details in a game which is so tight, which could end up costing you.
He's meant to run that shield line, isn't he, Leamanu? He's there to attract those defenders that Marlon Yard can then pick off as they step in.
Bath have taken the lead, having been a long way adrift early on, conceding those 3 early tries to the Falcons. Charlie Ewells has put them ahead for the first time.
Stay close, stay close.
And Owen Farrell has stretched Sarries 3 further clear of Sale. Both of those 3 o'clock kickoffs as we were here in southwest London. Ford. This is Don Barrow, who's got rid of the head guard that he was wearing at the start of this match. Tamua, Thacker, here he goes. Little V12 dumper truck that always offers such a threat. Calamafoni, Hamilton.
Big hit in midfield.
Buchanan's back on his feet. A little bit crestfallen.
He's being run at now.
Tamua, and this is Malouf. And Leicester enjoying their best spell of the match. Most phases that they've enjoyed ball in hand as well, and well, that looked like it went forward off Greg Bateman's pass. Ball's being checked by Jeff Warren, the TMO. Here's Matt Smith. The penalty's coming for Leicester, so this the advantage. Ford, and that's a break from Bateman, and he's charging through, and Bateman will score. It's not just about the will-o'-the-wisps. Occasionally it's about the big boulders, and there are a few bigger than Bateman. And now Leicester have 2 tries in 2 minutes, and now they have the lead again. What a match this is.
Well, penalty advantage coming. Great ball from Ford across the face of Calamafoni, and it must be frustrating sitting on the bench while everyone raves about what a good ball carrier Ellis Genge is when you can carry yourself. And Bateman, really good awareness, transfer of the ball from the left to the right hand to allow himself to get that fend into Brown's neck. Really, really good finish.
Well, he knows this part of town well. His days at London Welsh, Roslyn Park, and he certainly cut a route through Harlequins' defence just then.
I think Buchanan might be coming for a head injury assessment. He got back to his feet, made that secondary tackle after the initial one, but didn't look 100% right.
Well, Leicester have certainly been the ones who profited from the yellow cards for Genge and Collier. Johnny May and now Greg Bateman, and Leicester 4 points clear. Dave Ward is coming on for Rob Buchanan. And Charlie Matthews as well has joined us. George Merrick is the guy who's given up his place for Matthews' arrival in the second row. Tamua down on the final quarter of what has been a busy, energetic, watchable game of Aviva Premiership rugby this afternoon.
It's been very good. Just looking at that last try, it all comes from a defensive error. People so desperate in this occasion. Jack Clifford to put pressure at the game line, gets it wrong, opens a hole for Greg Bateman and gets inside James Horwell. And how about that for a finish of Greg Bateman?
5.
Dave Ward's first throw. Just a little bit too high, and it's being knocked on. Leicester will have the scrum, picked up by the try scorer. Ford tried to get it away quickly. Still playing the advantage. Youngs. Now Malouf. I'm talking about his finishing prowess over the first part of this season. Mike Brown lined him up.
You got the impression Mike Brown wasn't going to miss another tackle, was he? Great play from the England fullback.
Use it! Danny! Danny, move it! Come on!
30 seconds to go on those yellow cards. 30 seconds before they're both back up to 15 apiece. Malouf moving towards this, not gathering it cleanly, went forward.
No, he can't move, it's straight into him. He's trying to come back, he hasn't deliberately played it.
Danny Kerr was just wondering whether that
bring on, whether Williams will come back on. You see Mapapalangi as well, stripped off, warmed up. It's made a big impact since he arrived at Welford Road, the Tongan.
It's Mike Williams who made way to make sure that Leicester had 3 players in the front row, and just beyond him, Valentino Mapapalangi. Tongan test player who really has caught the eye since he arrived. Genge coming back on, as is Williams, as is Mapapalangi.
One of the second rows will go, maybe Harry Wells. Mapapalangi can play in the second row, he's played there for Tonga.
He's had an impact.
He's come on 5 minutes, scored a try, changed the game. I'll take a seat.
Harry Wells is the man to give away. And there's our strictly neutral analyst today. Oh, Manu. You wonder where Graham Kitchener is, by the way. He's cracked an eye socket. He's missing for a couple of weeks. That's why the likes of Harry Wells are getting a run. Quins trying to retrieve a deficit at the moment with Brown, almost up to halfway. Kerr, try scorer Luamanu. This is Horwell. Oh, it's stolen illegally by Dan Cole.
Well judged to be part of the tackle.
Always on the ball, must come off.
You've got to be so obvious to the referees, haven't you? Cole will say, well, I did release him, but you've actually got to lift your arms away and almost wave them at the referee. He knows that.
Clifford, Luamanu. Oh, and now Roberts. Oh, that was a cracking tackle. And it was Ford who made it, and I know you target George Ford, but not many have got through today, and Jamie Roberts couldn't get through. But still, Quins have this position, Hugo.
Two great physical carries, and here comes another one, but fair play to Leicester at the minute. They're stepping up to the challenge.
Horwell. The volume and the expectation levels around this place rising. Matthews.
Free shot for Harlequins, advantage coming.
Horwell waits, but they go the other way, and they score. And Alofa with glee, dots down.
Danny Kerr's vision and Alofa's line on that freebie is just outstanding. The approach play from Harlequins is physical. Matt Leamanu followed by Robertson. It's Danny, look at him. Looks up, Carl Sinclair takes the attention. Alofa picks the line, bisecting Leicester's defence, which looked so good for many phases up until that point. Last night was entertaining. Worcester Warriors coming back into the game, but this game has been filled with quality, some brilliant tries, really good rugby by both sides.
Just the delay of the pass from Kerr as well to tempt Malouf to fly out of the line and go for Sinclair. Similar in some respects to the one thrown for Leicester's try to Johnny May when Danny Kerr flew out of the line.
This is it, because we've seen a lot of good attack, but unfortunately defensively a couple of guys trying to be heroes and fixing the world.
Conversion from Tim Swill. Half a dozen tries now, evenly split between the two, and Harlequins regain the lead, and the chap who scored in a defeat here to Tigers last season scores in what might yet be a win here this season. No one's laying any significant amount of money on the outcome just yet, however. He remains an option. Logaviti Mulapola chugging around at the start of his 7th season as a Tiger. Looks like we're about to see him. Wasn't taken cleanly by Matthews, but Johnny May couldn't gather it cleanly either. And Leicester will have the scrum.
Dom, you don't need to come in here.
It drops through the hands and almost drops straight into the hands of Johnny May with a clear run in front of him. Marlon Yards, the backup player, he goes up. Neither of them get it because Matthews gets his hands on. And if that lands in Johnny May's hands, there's a chance Marlon Yard can't recover.
I used to have to position myself in that, and almost an opportunity gone.
Let's just quickly update those other scores. Bath have stretched further ahead. They've now got a bonus point for a 4th try. Jonathan Joseph has scored it for them. Newcastle were 17-0 up at one point. DTH van der Merwe amongst the scorers, and Ben Spencer has scored his 4th try of the season, 2nd of the match. And Saracens now lead 27-3. Again, 3 o'clock kickoff, same as us.
Okay.
We expected we might see a few fireworks between Ellis Genge and Carl Sinclair. Very, very wound up. Ellis Genge, a master wind-up merchant as well. Little grin going, eyebrows raised, laughing at him.
They're the same people.
Far side, time off.
James just gives Sinclair a little bit of a shove there, just
the gap. Okay,
adding to that tension.
Closer gap, please, on the far side. Closer gap, far side. Just a bit closer for me, please, okay? Okay, this way, let's go.
Let's have a chat with Jordan Murphy very quickly. It's just beautifully balanced, Jordy, isn't it? How do you see it?
Yeah, as you said, beautifully balanced. Depends on which side you're looking at. Obviously, we're a little bit behind on the scoreboard. We feel we got a little bit of dominance in the scrum, and big decision went against the start of the second half. But we just got to hold on to the ball, and I think there's going to be a couple of twists and turns left in this game.
What do you hope the replacements are going to achieve?
Oh, they've got to bring a huge energy. We got to be a little bit smarter with the ball. The team that's held on to the ball has obviously caused problems, and there's scores coming. So we've got to be smart with retaining possession.
Brilliant, thank you.
No, thank you. I'm not moving anymore. I can't move anymore. Okay.
Ian Tempest just laying down the law again, trying to get a little bit more discipline.
Yeah, no.
So watch me engage. You want to gap?
That's part of the game.
Crouch!
Matthew Tate has come on for Matt Smith.
Set!
Attacking Leicester scrum.
Use or reset!
Pitch cutting up as Youngs flings it away to Tamua. Sweel with the hit. Leicester with the penalty.
12. Release.
Jamie Roberts.
Post called. 12 on the floor, must release.
Yeah, it's a good tackle from Roberts. Stays in there and just leaves a sly hand in there. Referee's prime position to spot it.
Okay.
Intriguingly, Tom Youngs has stubbed out the cigar and looks like he might have a bit more running around to do here. Harry Thacker looks fine. Limping a little bit, maybe. Certainly some concern about Thacker's fitness. He's got some heavy strapping on that left leg, and Logaviti Mulapola prowling around with Youngs. And Mr. Havers all square. It's been one of those classic games of Premiership rugby. The lead swinging this way and that. Half a dozen tries evenly split, and now there's nothing between them. Quins 28, Tigers 28, 14 minutes to go. Dan Cole replaced by Mulapola. Second half of his season last season obliterated by a knee injury, but on to do what he can now. Brown takes it quickly. This is Sweel, yards, offering some support. Sweel running into Mapapalangi. This is Lewis Boyce on for his Premiership debut. Horwell taken on by Sinclair.
Good hit from Tamua, got underneath him, caught Sinclair as he received the ball, couldn't set himself for the contact.
Sweel tackled by Youngs, who is on. Oh, and the kick works out perfectly.
So this is what we've seen from Danny Care in the last few minutes, with Tim Sweel maybe not as vocal as Marcus Smith. So Danny Care having to take a lot of work on himself. Looks, no one's up there. Beautifully placed within a few inches of that touchline. Lovely little bit of territory for Harlequins.
Great looking at Danny's face. It was a little bit closer to the touchline than he'd designed.
There's Lewis Boyce, 21-year-old, into the big time for the first time. England under-20 prop. Played for Yorkshire Carnegie in the Championship playoff final last season, and now playing in the Premiership.
You speak to the boys at the club. The guy's got a rough edge to him. It's been fireworks and training last week.
At least they've got calming influence on the other side of the scrum.
Leicester losing the line out, and Kerr, who put them in this position, flings it away to Clifford, who's Still going strong. Harry Thacker has a dead leg, by the way. That's the reason that Captain Youngs has rejoined us. Captain Horwell. Kerr. This is Marchant. Those dancing feet of his. Horwell again. Kerr again. Sweel. Almost got through. He slalomed his way towards the line and in the end tripped over Tom Youngs.
Should we point out there might be a few people wondering why Tom Youngs has been allowed to come back onto the field when Harry Thacker's not got a head injury. It's obviously because he's in the scrum, and to get around the problem of uncontested scrums, a front row player is allowed to return. You have to have a full complement.
Thank you.
That had been one of the second rows Leicester wouldn't have been able to replace with someone who'd already been on the field.
That's Manu lending him his crutches. All heart.
Give him the headspace. Okay. No. It's nothing clear.
Charlie Matthews. And there's Boris Stankovic. We talk a lot about Leicester's coaches, Ben, and you will know as anyone, as well as anyone, the influence of that bloke on Leicester's scrum, on Leicester in general, since returning as one of the coaches.
He loves the scrum, does Boris. He's still, it is hilarious, every single training session, regardless of whether we're in the south of France, he's still got his 21mm studs, high-cut boots on for every single training session.
Crouch!
It'd be good to talk to him. We're told he does one interview a year with the media. He's a big fan of the media, so we pick it carefully, but he's always worth listening to. And he'll be happy enough with the way that Stankovic designed scrum has gone.
I think there might have been a little bit of nerves from Papalangi at the back of that scrum at one point. He lost control of the ball with his teammates flying forward in front of him, and if he hadn't kept that in, I think Ellis Genge might have turned around and told him exactly what he thought. Here's the scrum, just watch the ball at his feet, just treads on it and almost loses it, but does really well to recover.
Okay, lads open, Kyle, please.
So Tino Papalangi.
Lads, Quins, step.
But Leicester will be a lot happier down this end of the field, because every time Harlequins get into their 22, the alarm bells are winning. Harlequins getting really good momentum with their carriers, causing Leicester's defence all sorts of problems.
Hamilton quickly to Youngs to Ford, and
Taking him back in.
Ford once more, but again the speed of Harlequins' defence up in a flash and then driving over the ball. That is brilliant defensive work for Harlequins, and Matt Tate coming in, and he may well have hurt himself. Tackling Sweel. Tate does not look well. Meantime, Yard. Leicester's defence shorn of a man, and the ball's bouncing loose, and there's utter chaos in southwest London at the moment. Mike Brown's down, and he looks badly. Oh, Mike Brown is very badly injured. Tate's down. Meantime, Malouf at the other end gathers. He needs some support. It's utter carnage here at the Stoop for a moment. 3 players are out of this, and Leicester have the penalty.
Card. Well, that could, oh my goodness. Yeah, the referee is going to have to stay very, very calm. It's Ellis Genge who actually gets back to Yard as the kick's made. They'll want to check the timing of it. Harlequins fans don't like it, but
oh, poor old Alex Brown is in a world of pain at the moment. Matt Tate, having clobbered his head in the tackle, comes off. What an extraordinary 60 seconds.
Looks like a war zone out there. Mike Brown hurt his ankle against Wasps last week. He's a guy that never really stays down, but he looked in trouble. Marlon Yard, well, this is the break here, checking the timing. Chip.
He's already got his hand on him as the kick's made, so I think that's fine. Whether it's the follow through from Veanu, just jumps. I think Genge is okay. Veanu will be who they check.
I think you're right. Genge's time is not too bad, but it could be the follow through of Veanu. He lifts his forearm, catches him with his elbow into the side of his head.
Let's have a listen to the referee.
There's no clear foul play. The Leicester player's going for the charge down, and there's no foul play for me to report here. Okay. No foul play. We go back.
Now, what does he do? Having decided that, what does he do here? Because Malouf won the race to the ball.
No, fine, no, it's penalty only.
Meantime, Matt Smith comes on as a head injury replacement for Matt Tate.
Time on. Off it.
He's missed the yellow.
Scrum.
There should have been a yellow for Harlequins in the first half of the line break, and that's got to be a cynical foul from Harlequins as well.
Post.
Tom Young's the captain,
Okay,
back on, decides to go for the posts.
Can we do it after the tip?
Calm head.
Well, if we've missed anything, I'm sure you'll let us know, but there are only about a million things to try and keep on top of just then.
Matt Smith's not running particularly freely, having replaced Matthew Tate, ankle strapped up.
And the other Ford, Joe Ford, preparing to make his Leicester debut, George's big brother, back in the Premiership again. Meantime, Baby broke for the lead.
Joe Ford's coming on for Matt Smith, actually. I think Smith's been on and said, look, no, I can't.
Once that sub's made, can they do that? Have they just used another sub?
So they've used another substitution, yeah.
Oh, jeez.
George Ford has kicked well today, and another 3 points edges Leicester ahead in this extraordinary game. Well, that means that Sam Harrison, who is the replacement scrum half, cannot now be used. And Barrow went up high with Matthews. Ben Youngs has it. Viano's doing what he can to chase after it, but there are fuel tanks emptying all over the pitch here. Brown's back on his feet, and here goes Sinclair. Held on to by Tamua, who is a nuggety little centre, Tamua. Not much gets beyond him. Ben Glynn doing what he can do, and this is Boyce. Sinclair running into Youngs. Taken on again by Kerr, and Glynn, and Boyce. And the Loffer, whose try put Quins back ahead not so long ago. Topsy-turvy old game at the Stoop, this. Clifford, he has been consistently excellent throughout.
It's a knock-on. Papalangi just getting his hand in as Clifford got his free and tried to affect the offload. The quality or the endeavour of the offloads from both sides really good, particularly Harlequins, but Leicester just capitalising on that looseness at the moment. There's the hand coming.
Just to clear up that Matt Smith replacement confusion, we're hearing that it was just an admin error and he was never meant to go on in the first place. It was always meant to be Joe Ford, and that's been accepted. So
I'm accepting that, but that's definitely not what happened, because he got stripped down. He ran onto he was on the pitch 2 minutes, had to run around to realise his ankle wasn't right.
Well, clearly the officials are happy with that, because Sam Harrison has come on.
I wonder, I don't know, I wonder whether it makes a difference. Did he come on while the conversion attempt was being made, so the ball was never in play while he was on the field?
Just keep the time off,
potentially, I don't know, I can't remember.
Is table tennis this complicated? Can BT Sport get some table tennis and we'll all commentate on that instead? Goodness me. Anyway, Sam Harrison's on. Elsewhere, Chris Harris has scored a try that will get a bonus point if things stay the same for Newcastle. Bath still leading, and Vincent Koch has scored. He playing today, South African prop, and a bonus point for the European champions as well. Byron McGuigan has got Sale's try.
Pressure off, pressure off, pressure off, pressure off, time's off.
Do you reckon Ian Tempest's enjoying refereeing these scrums? I don't think he is. That one there, Sinclair just a little bit long-legged, and as he tried to chase his feet up underneath him to fix it, just slipped. His stud slipped in the ground, so he's done the right thing to reset. Just watch, a little bit long-legged, tries to chase him up, and that right foot slips away on this stooped turf.
Crouch. Bind. Set. Time off again.
Well, we'd have played 4 of this weekend's Aviva Premiership games by this evening. So much to see, so much to enjoy in the 4 that we've had so far. And we'll have highlights from them all. BT Sport 1 HD from 9 o'clock. 2 more games tomorrow. London Irish against Northampton. Exeter against Wasps, last season's Twickenham finalists. And point me in the direction of next Wednesday's Rugby tonight. On the road again, on tour, Sarah and Hughes. In a London Irish special, which will be good fun. Adam Jones and Nick Evans. Leicester's new scrum half, Harrison. Leicester controlling the ball. Look at Danny Kerr prowling around, and it went backwards, but Kerr was sniping, but Leicester might benefit. They're breaking. This is May. Already scored 1 try in this match. Here's Hamilton into Kerr. Luamanu was there as well. This is Calamafoni for Leicester. Into the final 5 minutes. Ford, Tom Youngs. He went off and has come back on again. May. Barrow. Roberts got in the way of where George Ford wanted to go. This is Johnny May. He's picked him up and he's got Harrison to his right-hand side. Harrison, if he could have skipped away, could have sealed the match, but he couldn't. Joe Ford to Tamua, and this is May. Leicester looking for a 4th try and a bonus point try, and to deny Quinn's one as well. And Barrow, so much still at stake going into the closing minutes of this captivating contest.
Good counter-up to slow it down from Harlequins. Under pressure with Brown tied into that breakdown.
Vianney's out on his own on that right wing now.
Molapola waits. It goes way beyond him because the backs have seen that, and this is Joe Ford to Veanu. Quinn's defence was well stocked. Harrison. Oh, and Barrow couldn't take it, and it went forward, and Quins will have a defensive scrum, and they're still alive, they're still breathing.
Outstanding defence from Harlequins, particularly on that wide series of passes from Ford and his brother Joe Ford. May makes the initial break, spots the opportunity in and around the breakdown. Really good cover from Brown to get back and hold on to Harrison. And then here, they don't go too hard, they just drift, they create that axis of 2 defenders on the outside, and then they try and go back against the grain with Don Barrow, and he just maybe gets slightly ahead of where he needed to be to give himself the time on the ball.
Extraordinary goings on at the rec. Having been 17-0 up and having lost the lead, Mark Wilson has just scored a try for Newcastle. The dying embers beside the Avon as well, and the Falcons are ahead at Bath. Not as much time to go there as there is here.
This league is bonkers this year. Big scrum. Big scrum. Not only, obviously, for Harlequins, they're on their own line, but Leicester cannot afford to give away a cheap penalty here to allow Harlequins to not only clear their lines, but then get the resulting put in to the line out. And Leicester will want to target them, but they've got to be careful.
It's a big Leicester scrum, but it'll be another Harlequins one.
Sideways movement by both players. Sideways movement by both players. Let's go. Sideways movement by both players.
And that reset though just lets the clock tick down a little bit, doesn't it? It's a long way to go, but it only takes 15 seconds to go the length of the field.
Use it!
Care. Quins with ambition, as they have to show. Marchant castled and caught by Malouf, who increasingly continues to impress. Now Clifford, what about him? There were 3 Leicester players on him quickly. Defending that 22-metre line like it's the try line. And Malouf again.
How good is Matt Tamura's tackling today, by the way? Big or small, he's always so effective.
Come on! Half time.
A dozen tackles from the World Cup finalist. Ward. Oh, it's a little bit loose. And it was gathered in by Lewis Boyce, and Alofa needs to be careful here. Ford and co trying to shuffle him out of play. Bearing down on the final minute. Quins 90 metres from where they need to be. Matthews.
Come off!
John Barrow over the top. Marchant. Such is the quality of this Quins backline that you wouldn't bet against them, but they're going to need something brilliant now.
They're showing exceptional control, aren't they? They're not trying to force a pass that might result in a turnover. They know if they just keep probing, they have the talent to unlock this Leicester defence.
Use it!
Simple's waiting, but I think Kerr's going to go the other way to Marchant.
Tom Youngs is struggling a bit. He might be targeted here if they can get the ball out to Jamie Roberts, who's opposite him.
It's about to clear on. Still in, still in.
Brown. Pulled to the floor by Ford. Not necessarily known for his tackling, but he's done a job today defensively.
8 seconds of regular time left. This is their last shot. They can't afford to spill it.
Horwell. Leicester not overly committing at the breakdown. Just waiting for tired Quins' minds and muscles perhaps to do the job for them. Time's up.
Well, it's a really good defensive set from Leicester as well. You spoke about patience, that discipline, not giving Harlequins that easy out, forcing Harlequins to play, and if they are going to be broken, it's got to be something exceptional.
Marchant. How hard have they worked to make about 6 inches over the last couple of minutes? Oh well, Leicester have held their defensive line in discipline as well. Hamilton going through to try and free the ball up. Now it is a Quins penalty.
Obviously, Kerr's gone.
Oh, they could have kicked a touch under the new Reds, but they pressed the gamble button, gone for a Alofa, and that had the hint of the forward about it, but Leicester have possession. All they need to do is to get this ball off the pitch, and it'll be over, but Mullapola's not interested in that. He thinks we've not had enough entertainment already this afternoon. It's a Leicester penalty now, and that'll finish the argument.
Well, they can't kick straight to touch here. They need calm heads, because if they kick straight to touch, they have to take the line out. So it needs a tap first. Joe Ford coming in to ask. Really good from Joe Ford.
A weekend of Premiership chaos. None more chaotic than this match. What a match. John Kingston's Harlequins, however, beaten by a rejuvenated Leicester. Matt O'Connor's bunch have got their season slap bang on track. We'll remember this game for quite a while. It's a match that's been won by Leicester, the narrowest of margins. Quins 28, Tigers 31.
Just so enjoyable to watch.